Welcome to episode 94 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Troy and the story of the Battle of Gods and Men. On Olympus, Zeus had called an assembly of the immortals in which he gave them permission to help both the Trojans and the Argives, as their hearts prompted them. For if Achilles fought the Trojans without the gods taking a part in the battle, he would surely conquer the city of Troy against fate herself. As soon as the immortals knew that they might do as they wished, they ranged themselves into groups which were opposite ways. Hera, the mother of the gods, Pallas Athene, Poseidon, Hermes, Hephaestus, hastened to the Argive ships. Ares set out for the Trojans, and with him were Phoebus and Artemis, Leto, their mother, Aphrodite, and Scamander, the river god, whom the gods called Xanthus. As long as the gods had not joined the advancing host, the Acheans held high their heads because dread Achilles was again in their midst. And the limbs of the Trojans shook with fear when from afar they saw the son of Pallas, who in his glittering array resembled the war god himself. But now the gods had mingled with both armies, and again the outcome was uncertain. Athene was now here, now there, outside the wall of the trench or by the shore of the sea, and wherever she appeared she sounded her battle cry. On the other side, Ares roared encouragement to the Trojans, now from the highest point in their city, now flying through their ranks at the city of Simwas. Both hosts alike stormed Eris, the goddess of discord. Zeus, the ruler of battles, thundered terribly down from Olympus, and Poseidon shook the earth from beneath until the peaks of all mountains and the very roots of Ida quaked. And even Pluto, the lord of shades, was startled and leaped from his throne, for he feared that a rift in the earth might discover to men and gods his secret kingdom below. And now the gods confronted one another in actual encounter. Phoebus Apollo launched his arrows against Poseidon. Pallas Athene fought the god of war. Artemis used her bow against Hera. Hermes opposed Leto, and Scamander Hephaestus. While the gods thus advanced against God, Achilles was intent on one thing alone, on finding Hector in the throng. But Apollo, in the semblance of Lycaon, son of Priam, urged toward him Aeneas, whom he had fired with such courage that he went swiftly forward in his armor of shimmering bronze. Through all that tumult, Hera saw him. Quickly, she summoned those gods who were her allies and said, "Poseidon and Athene, I beg you to consider what is to come of this. There is Aeneas, whom Phoebus has roused, storming against the son of Pallas. Either we must thrust him back, or one of us must increase the strength of Achilles until he feels that the mightiest of the gods are supporting him. Today he shall be safe from the Trojans. Only for this have we all descended from Olympus. Later he must suffer the fate decreed at his birth." "Think of the outcome, Hera," Poseidon replied. "I do not think we should attack the other gods with combined strength. That would be unfair, since we are by far the more powerful. Rather let us sit apart in some high place and watch the struggle. But if Apollo or Ares begin to fight, if they hinder Achilles and keep him from moving freely, then we shall have the right to take part in the conflict, and surely our adversaries will quickly yield to our strength and return to Olympus." God did not wait for an answer, but shook his locks and led the way to the wall of Heracles, which Pallas and the Trojans had built long ago. To that place Poseidon hastened, and the other gods followed him. There they sat, their forms shrouded in impenetrable mist. Opposite them, on the hill called Caliconia, were Ares and Apollo. And so the immortals camped not far from one another, separate, but ready to fight, only pausing a little to reflect. Meantime, The field was filling with warriors and glistening with the bronze of their armor and chariots, and the earth echoed beneath their feet. It was not long, however, before two sprang forward from among the rest: Aeneas, son of Ancus, and Achilles, son of Pallas. Aeneas came first. The plumes swayed from his massive helmet. With his great shield of oxide, he covered his breast, and threateningly he brandished his spear. When the son of Pallas saw him, he too forged ahead impetuously like an angry lion. The moment they were within hailing distance, he shouted, "How dare you come so far in advance of your men, Aeneas? Do you cherish the hope that after slaying me you will rule Troy? What folly, for never will Priam accord you this honor. Has he not sons enough of his own? And besides, he himself, old as he is, does not dream of giving up the throne. Or perhaps the Trojans have promised you a fine country estate in reward for killing me. If I remember rightly, I pursued you once before. Do you recall how, when you were alone with the herds, I chased you down the steep slopes of Ida? You did not even take time to look back over your shoulder as you fled, and never stopped until you reached the city of Lyrnessus. But I, with the aid of Pallas and Zeus, laid it in ruins, and only the mercy of my immortal ally saved you, while I bore off plenty of spoils and captives. But the gods will not rescue you a second time. So I counsel you to draw back and mingle with your men. Have a care. Do not advance against me, not unless you want to be hurt." And Aeneas retorted, "Do not think you can frighten me with your mere talk as though I were a child. I too could give you words that cut to the heart. Each of us is acquainted with the glory and lineage of the other. I know that Thetis, goddess of the sea, bore you, but I can boast of being the son of Aphrodite and the grandson of Zeus. Besides, we will surely not part with childish threats. So let us not stand on the battlefield chattering like silly boys. Let us rather try each other with our brazen lances." So he said, and he hurled his spear. It struck the strong shield of Achilles, and the air rang with the sound, but it pierced only the first 2 layers of bronze. The next layer was of gold, and it stopped the lance before it reached the last 2 layers, which were of tin. And now the son of Pallas cast his spear, and it struck the shield of Aeneas, the outer rim where the bronze and oxhide were thinnest. Aeneas crouched down and held up his shield in terror as the lance sped through the shield and struck behind him in the ground. The son of Aphrodite trembled at the great danger he had escaped. Already Achilles was running at him with the sword, uttering a fierce shout. Aeneas picked up a stone lying in the field, a stone so large that 2 ordinary men could not have lifted it, but he swung it easily in his hand. Then he would have struck Achilles on the helmet or the shield, and the son of Pallas would have slain Aeneas with the sword in close combat, had not Poseidon been quick to see what was happening. For though the gods sat on the wall of Heracles, were hostile to the Trojans, they were sorry for Aeneas. "It would be a pity," said Poseidon, "if the son of Ancus descended to Hades because he relied on Apollo's words. Besides, I fear Zeus' wrath, for while it is true that he hates the line of Priam, he does not wish to let it perish completely. And it is through Aeneas that this race of kings shall endure, through his sons and his sons' sons." "Do as you like," replied Hera. "As for Pallas and myself, we have sworn a solemn oath not to avert misfortune from the Trojans, come what may." And now Poseidon flew into the battle. Invisible to mortals, he drew the spear from the shield of Aeneas, laid it at the feet of Achilles, and shed a fog before the hero's eyes. Then the sea god lifted the Trojan from the earth, and holding him high, hurled him over chariots and warriors to the edge of the field where the Acheans, allies of Troy, were arraying themselves for the fight. Here Poseidon upbraided the hero he had rescued. "What immortal blinded you, Aeneas," he said, "that you ventured to strive against the darling of the gods, against the son of Pallas, who is so much stronger than you? From now on, withdraw whenever you catch sight of him. Once fate has overtaken him, you may fight in the foremost ranks." Then the god left him and dissolved the mist from before the eyes of Achilles. In great astonishment, the son of Pallas saw his lance lying on the ground, and his enemy gone. "Let him escape with the help of a god," he said to himself sulkily. "I am used to having him flee from me." Then he sprang back into the ranks of his men and urged them on. On the other side, Hector was stirring up his warriors, and a fierce encounter followed. When Phoebus Apollo saw Hector making so eagerly for the son of Pallas, he whispered a word of warning in his ear. Then Hector heard and drew back in the throng. But Achilles stormed at his enemies, and at the first cast of his spear split the skull of brave Iphiton, so that he fell and was mangled by the chariot wheels of the Acheans. Then he thrust his spear into the temple of Demoleon, son of Antenor. Hippodamus he bore in the back with his lance, just as he was dismounting from his chariot, and one of the sons of Priam he caught in the spine beneath the belt clasp, just as the youth passed him. He screamed with pain, and he sank to his knees. When Hector saw his younger brother writhing on the ground, his eyes darkened with rage. He could no longer bear to keep aloof from the battle, and despite the warning of the god, made straight for Achilles, brandishing his spear like a flash of lightning. Achilles saw him and rejoiced. "This is the man," he said, "who has grieved me to the core of my heart. Do not let us avoid each other, Hector. Come close, close, that you may die the sooner." "I know how brave you are," Hector replied, unafraid, "and that I am less mightier than you. Still the gods may favor my spear. It may slay you, even though it is launched by a weaker man." So saying, he cast his spear, but Athene stood behind the son of Pallas and breathed against the weapon. It swerved back to Hector and fell powerless at his feet. And now Achilles stormed to the spot to pierce his opponent with a thrust of his spear. But Apollo shed a thick mist about Hector, and 3 times the son of Pallas lunged into empty air. When he dashed forward in vain a 4th time, he cried in threatening tones, "Dog, again you have cheated death, surely because you have prayed to your guardian Apollo. But if I too have an ally among the immortals, we shall meet again, and you shall not escape death at my hands. Now I shall seek more Trojans and kill all of them." So he spoke, and his lance hit the neck of Dryops, who tumbled at his feet. Next, he wounded Demuchus in the knee, and threw down from the chariot Laogonus and Dardanus, sons of Bias, one with a lance and the other with a sword. Another young Tros, son of Alastor, clasped his knee in supplication, asking him to spare his youth. He pierced him through the liver. Then he thrust his lance into one ear of Mulius. The brazen point came out at the other. Eclis, son of Agenor, he struck in the skull with his sword. Deucalion he gashed in the elbow with the point of his lance, and then struck off his head. It rolled into the dust together with the helmet. Rigmus, the Thracian, his flying lance pierced in the belly, and Arthos his spear threw from the chariot. Thus, godlike Achilles raged like a forest fire whipped on by swift winds. His horses pranced over shields and bodies. The axle dripped with blood, and the drops spattered on the wheels and the chariot itself. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales. Many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.